Welcome to the Science of Tree Felling series. In this video, we're going to talk about how to determine the best target to fell a tree. While we're standing at the base of the tree, we might as well get our first measurement necessary, and that's the diameter of the tree. If you have a D-tape, which is just a specialized tape measure that measures in pi inches, or for every measure on here is 3.14 inches. It actually gives us the diameter as we measure around object's circumference. Or if you don't have diameter tape, you can always use a standard tape measure and then just divide by pi, and that will also give you the diameter of that tree. Or if you just want to get a really good estimate, please review my built-in measures video. And on your body, you have lots of different measuring devices that you can, with a fair level of accuracy, be able to estimate the diameter of the tree. Now, while we're standing at the tree, we can gather some information. Looking out from the tree, we want to think about the best direction to fell this tree. The best direction to fell the tree is one that the canopy is going to be able to make a clean fell all the way from standing vertical to going to horizontal, which means that it doesn't have to cross through, over, or try to push around any other standing trees. So if you can look for a location that has a clear drop where you're going to have the least likelihood of interacting with any other trees, therefore decreasing the likelihood of the tree getting hung up, that's going to be one of the things you want to consider. Other items you want to consider, again, those hazards and obstacles that I talked about in the last video, reference those. And something that I find is things like roads or pedestrian pathways. If you could avoid felling over those, it's going to make your felling process all that much easier, because then you don't have to immediately clean up that blocked pathway and or cut the tree up in a fashion that's going to decrease the timber value. So you want to look at the tree from the tree's perspective. So standing at the tree, we're just going to walk around, we're going to look around in a 360-degree fashion and think about what is the best, easiest way to get this tree on the ground. That being said, we can also give some generalized and very simplistic look at the leans of the tree. Just by standing at the tree and looking up at it, you can get a lot of information. Does the tree have a heavy lean in one direction or not? Is the heavy lean against or in opposition to the direction of the open pathway that you intend to fell? Just because a tree is leaning backwards does not mean that it is impossible or even difficult to fell in opposition to the lean and to get the tree to go over. It just means that it's another consideration to account for when we're thinking about how to fell a tree. We'll talk more about how to find exactly how much lean is on that tree and how to overcome it in the next video. But right now, just have a general sense for the tree. Is it standing straight up and down, or does it have a preference in one direction or the other? With all that information gathered, now we want to walk away from the tree, and we actually want to mark a target. We can mark a target by looking at an object that is in the direction of the fell and saying, that's the object that I want to aim for. Or I like to take a stick with me because we're going to need some measuring anyhow. Or my actual preference is a snow pin. They're light, they're easy to carry around, they're relatively inexpensive, and because of their color and reflectivity, they're easy to see even in a wooded environment. And to become a better sawyer, putting a target in the ground, whether it's a stick or whether it's pointing at something or whether it's a snow pin, is an aiming for that and seeing your systematic error. If you always fell a tree and it's always 3 feet to the left, it gives you information that you can use to help increase your accuracy over time. So having a target is extremely important. And especially when we get to the leans section in our next video about how we have to adjust our aim based on our target. So what we want to do is walk out from the tree towards our target. And once we get to our target location with our target marker, now is a great time to assess the overall height of the tree, which is extremely important for a calculation that we're going to be doing in the next video. But at that time, you're also then going to be standing in the location at the topmost point of that tree. If there is a debris pile in the way before you get to that point, you will know that when the tree falls, it will hit the debris pile. Substitute anything you want for that debris pile. Maybe it's a bird bath, maybe it's a house, maybe it's an electrical wire, whatever it may be. If the consideration is that the tree is taller than you have space for, again, it's going to invalidate that plan and you'll have to change the target that you're aiming after. You may have to go in a completely different direction or try something a little more difficult, like going against the lean of the tree or pushing it through a canopy to make sure that we don't hit one of those obstacles that we talked about earlier. So how do we determine the overall height of a tree? Easy, using our similar triangle theorem. Some people call it the stick trick, but it's basically just using a stick and using a 90, 45, 45 triangle. So when we use a 90, 45, 45 triangle, our opposite and adjacent legs of the triangle, by definition, are the exact same height, which means that the horizontal distance that I travel and mark my spot using my triangles is going to be the exact same as the height of the object that I'm measuring. It has to be for the 45, 45, 90-degree triangle that we're going to be creating. So what I do is I grab the straightest stick that I can, or in this particular case, my snow pin, and I am going to put it up to my eyeball. If you have safety glasses, now would be the time to use them. You don't want to poke your eyeball out, but get as close to your eyeball as you can without poking it, and set your arm out straight. Don't have it bent, don't have it down, but set it out straight. And now pivot this item up till you're at 90 degrees. And again, to reinforce that concept that I just talked about, the distance between here and here has to be the same as the distance between here and there, because the height of my stick has not changed. So as long as I'm making a 90-degree bend at this point here, I have a 90, 45, 45-degree triangle, and the adjacent leg has to be the same height or the same distance as the opposite leg of the triangle. So with that, I can form this triangle, and by simply eyeing the tree and going forwards and backwards until the base of the tree is at my pivot point, and the top of the tree is framed at the top of my stick at that location, now I can place my marker where my feet or where my eyeball is. Placing my marker at my feet or my eyeball visually indicates where the top of that tree is where we want it to land. This is now our target. And so how does that work? And in the slide I'm going to show you here, or showing you now, is the concept that if this distance is the same as this distance, we're just extrapolating that triangle out visually further. So again, the ground distance, or the horizontal distance between where my eyeball is and the base of that tree, is then in the same frame or the same conceptual triangle as the base of the tree is to the height of the tree as it projects out through the bottom of my stick to the top of my stick, operating upwards. So I know that where I'm standing is as the tree is tall. So now what other information can I gather? Well, from my target point, I could walk back and measure using those built-in measures. And again, if you aren't familiar with your pace, watch my built-in measure video and determine your pace. And from that point of the pin, I can walk back towards that tree counting my pace. 5, 10, right-left combinations until I get to the base of that tree, and now that's my height. So now I have some information gathered. I know the diameter of the tree because I measured it before I left. I have a location that I want to aim for, a visual target that I can aim at. I know the height of the tree physically on the ground because there's a pin in place where that topmost point should hit, and I can use my built-in measure and my pace to calculate the height of the tree without ever having to climb up and down it. And as a bonus, as I'm walking back and forth to that tree from my known target, I'm also looking for anything that may change those hazards and obstacles that we talked about in the last video. Does the potential lay of that tree create any new items of concern? Maybe there was a rock that I didn't see. Maybe there's another fallen tree that I'll have to overcome. From a function of safety and certainly as a function of timber value, if I hit another object or if there's a cradle or a crevice in the ground that's significant, I may split that tree, the tree may break, the tree may spring back at me, and all those things need to be considered. And you can only actually see those things if you walk that lay. So as you're walking back and forth from your target to the tree, make sure that you're observing on the ground if anything is going to change your plan. Thanks for listening. Thank you for watching the Science of Tree Felling series. My hope is that you find these videos educational and that you learn to be a better, safer tree feller. If you know others who may benefit from this series, share the link, like the video, and subscribe to this channel. Keep watching for even more tree felling knowledge. See you next time.